Dragon Pokemon have been a prominent and dominant threat in the Pokemon TCG ever since they were first introduced back in the Black and White era, with the set Dragons Exalted. Before then, any Pokemon that was a Dragon type in the video games were mainly printed as colourless when it came to the TCG, but they did require multiple types of energy in order to use their attacks. However, with the release of Dragons Exalted, they officially became their own official type. However, they didn't receive a basic energy type. They did get a special energy, being Double Dragon Energy, an incredibly powerful card, but to this day, they have never received a dedicated basic energy card. Meaning that every Dragon Pokemon still needs multiple types of energy in order to attack. But even then, that didn't stop them from seeing consistent meta play. Giratina, Rayquaza, Garchomp, Naganadel, Necrozma, Kyurem, so on and so forth. For the past few years, ever since its release back in Lost Origin, Giratina V has been our current Dragon Pokemon over the format, still topping regionals to this day. However, things are about to change. Ever since the release of Mask of Change over in Japan, a new Dragon Pokemon has quickly overtaken the meta, even overpowering the current best deck of the format, Charizard. This new threat being Dragapult EX. I did briefly mention this card in my Twilight Masquerade set review video, however this card and deck deserve their own separate video just because of how powerful it is and also because of how much play it's seeing over in Japan. Dragapult EX is a 320 HP Dragon-type Pokemon with 2 attacks. Its first attack, for a single colourless energy, does 70 damage, which is decent. However, its second attack is much more powerful. For 1 fire energy and 1 psychic energy, it does 200 damage, and then puts 6 damage counters on your opponent's benched Pokemon in any way you like. 200 damage is huge, and for only 2 energy as well, enough to one-hit KO any basic non-EX Pokemon, even through certain tool cards such as Ancient Booster and Bravery Charm. And then on top of that, you can put 6 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon, which opens up a lot of possibilities for this deck. You could ping down certain Pokemon that are just out of range of that 200 damage, meaning you can KO them later on in the game. You could knock out a support Pokemon your opponent might be trying to set up. You could ping down a Pokemon for another one of your Pokemon to deal with. You could ping down multiple Pokemon for the possibility of numerous knockouts later on in the game. The card is very versatile, and because of that, there are multiple different ways that players over in Japan have been playing the deck. Some have been using it alongside Charizard EX because of its ability on evolution, letting you attach up to 3 fire energy from the deck, not only powering itself up, but giving Dragapult its needed fire energy. So now you have access to 2 incredibly strong attackers. Some have been using it with Xatu from Paradox Rift, with its ability allowing you to attach a psychic energy from your hand to a benched Pokemon and then draw 2 cards, meaning you get to dig through your deck and have 2 energy attachments per turn. Some have been using it alongside Pidgeot EX, its quick search ability letting you grab any card you want from the deck every turn. Plus, since the deck wants to max out on Dragapult's mid-stage evolution Dracloak, you can prioritise rare candies for your Pidgey instead. Some have been using it in Lost Zone decks. Mirage Gate can attach 2 different energy types straight from the deck, and the Lost Zone engine has some very powerful draw cards, adding onto the deck's already strong consistency. Some have been playing it alongside Armarouge and Magma Basin, allowing you to attach a fire energy from your discard, and then use Armarouge to move that fire energy from a bench Pokemon to the active. There's probably more variations out there and more still to come, but you get the idea. The card is very versatile in how you can build a deck around it. There is no definitive way to play this deck just yet. You can play it however you want. Every build is different. Even the A-spec players are using is different between versions of the deck. Unfair Stamp, Scoop Up Cyclone, Legacy Energy, Maximum Belt, but the majority of them are using Neo Upper Energy, which when attached to a Stage 2 Pokemon gives 2 energy of every type. The only key pieces that are shared consistently between lists is the use of TM Evolution to quickly get your Dracloaks into play. Yes, this deck actually plays the mid-stage evolution, unlike other stage 2 decks that just use rare candy to avoid waiting the extra turn. But with this deck it's completely different. As I said earlier, the deck wants to max out on the stage 1 evolution, Dracloak, because itself has a very strong ability. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand, and then put the remaining card on the bottom of the deck. This card basically says draw a card. So with multiple in play, you can consistently use the ability every turn to keep digging through your deck when needed. Plus, unlike other cards such as Comfy, it doesn't need to be in the active, so you can use the ability while it's on the bench, and it doesn't put the card into the lost zone. Meaning while that card you put on the bottom of the deck you may not need right now, you may need it later on in the game, so you still have access to it. Most deck lists have also been using Rotom V for early game drawing and letting you utilise Forest Sealstone to grab any card from the deck like Pidgeot. Tatsugiri, another new card coming in the same set, its ability lets you look at the top 6 cards of your deck and grab a supporter card. Plus, various deck lists have also been using Rescue Board, which can give your Tatsugiri or your Dragapult free retreat, since they only have 1 retreat cost, making for a very strong pivot option after one of your Pokemon is knocked out. The deck also can use powerful support cards such as Mela, which lets you attach a fire energy from your discard if one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn, and then you can draw until you have 6 cards in hand. Lance can grab you any free Dragon type Pokemon from the deck, which the deck plays a lot of. Different lists have even been playing different Radiant Pokemon. Alakazam to move damage counters, Charizard to deal huge damage for low energy into the late game, Zarina to heal 20 damage every turn from all of your Pokemon. The deck is so diverse in how it's built and played, which is something that I really enjoy when it comes to trading card games. Unlike other decks where there is only 1 or 2 ways to build the deck, this deck is the complete opposite. As long as you have the Dragapult cards, you can splash whatever other engine into the deck that can synergize with it. And over time, I imagine players will find more ways to build and play the deck. Plus, we could receive new cards in future sets for the deck to tinker around with. This deck is what I enjoy in card games. It promotes diversity, it promotes uniqueness, it promotes creativity, and because of that, I can definitely see myself picking up this deck upon release, as I imagine lots of other people will be. Dragapult EX has already strongly solidified itself in the Pokemon TCG meta, dominating city leagues over in Japan, taking up over 30% of the represented decks, overshadowing Charizard, which used to be the best deck. But not anymore. Dragapult is strong, versatile, and consistent. However, our format might not follow the same route as Japan. I do expect Dragapult to see a lot of play at local tournaments, cups, regionals, etc., but with how creative our player base is over here in the West, Dragapult could end up being either the best deck of the format or one of the best decks of the format. After all, we are only in the first few weeks of Mask of Change's release, so Japanese players could find some sneaky techs to counter this new meta strategy. After all, Jirachi is a card, so there is the possibility of it becoming a staple bench protection card in every deck alongside Manaphy just because of this card. Only time will tell, but I am definitely looking forward to playing this deck for myself and experimenting with all of the different builds and ways to play it, once Twilight Masquerade releases very soon.